Wait a minute.
Okay.
This is the Edition Unfiltered podcast.
So you guys will be excited to hear that I found Sid and she was just at Jenica's house. And so now, conveniently, we have someone here who'd like to introduce themselves.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Jill. Thank
Hey,
you for
Jenica.
inviting me to your podcast.
I think we need to thank Sid. She found you. So
Thanks, Sid.
yay her.
Yeah. So let me introduce myself to your
Audience, yes.
yeah.
The 12
your
people
audience.
listening.
That's a good number.
audience.
Yeah, that's a good
Anything
number.
about
So my name is Jenica Patel,
Mhm.
and I'm a Hindu. I've been married for 5 years, and before that, I dated my husband for 3 years. I live with my in-laws who are very traditional as yet, and yeah, that's it about me.
Okay, how about you tell me something that's not related to your marriage? Something fun about you.
So Jenica is not my real name.
Ooh, that's so mysterious. Sid,
I-
who was this random person you've just brought along with you?
Which one on the street?
Jenica
Yeah.
from the streets.
I'm just a wise lady.
So you're here to provide us with all the wise words that you have. All right, I'll take it.
I don't want my husband to hold this podcast against me. No, that's why I have to use a obvious name.
Okay, well, Jenica, you shall remain as mysterious as they come.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Let's get into this now. So before we get into your whole process of being married, can you tell me the story of how you met your husband?
Yeah, sure. So he and I,
Mhm.
we had just come out of relationship at around the same time, and his work colleagues were mutual friends with me.
Mhm.
So they set us up on a date. They thought of it as, a rebound. Like just have a rebound relationship when you
Uh-huh.
both get over your breakups. So we met up, we went for pizza,
Mhm.
but we did not like each other. We were like on the opposite ends. I think it was tough for us, very awkward and uncomfortable for both of us.
Mhm.
So after that, we never proceeded forward with the relationship or even give it a shot. We
Mhm.
just let ourselves be. And then after 6 years,
After
he-
6 years.
yeah, after 6 years,
Uh-huh.
he had a change of heart. He saw me on his workmate, the one who introduced us.
Uh-huh.
He saw me on her Instagram and he wanted to give it another try. He found me hot, so
Ooh,
he wanted to give it a
check
shot.
me out.
Those days I can say, I was not bad looking.
I was.
So-
I'm sorry. No, can we stop there for a second? Why are you referring to that in past tense?
I don't want to brag, yeah?
No, come on. You have to brag. Be humble about it. Be honest about it. You're fired.
Anyway, so he saw me on Instagram and he wanted to give it another shot. And I had to think about it.
Mhm.
I wasn't interested because of what happened 6 years ago. But a good friend of mine who is very wise, or who is still very wise,
Uh-huh.
she advised me that, 6 years is a long time and everyone changes with time. So
Yes.
I decided to give it a shot. So what I did was I didn't meet him for 1 month.
Mhm.
I told him, no, let's have a chat and get to know each other properly and then we can meet afterwards. So after 1 month, we met up and I liked his persona. The date went fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And that's how we then just got married after 2-3 years. And 3 years, yes.
3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, my numbers I am not very good with numbers, but yeah. So we dated for 3 years. In those 3 years, I got to know him. We had our ups and downs like any other relationship. But I knew in my heart that he was the one for me and he felt the same.
That's like a movie story, you bump into each
Yeah.
other 6 years later and you just fall in love and live happily ever after.
Yeah, I didn't know. It was even a shocker for me. We would get back together.
Uh-huh. It didn't even cross
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah, it didn't cross my mind. From all the boys,
Yeah.
it was stayed in. His name was never there.
Mhm.
So it was really shocking that he's the one I got with. But I feel that maybe destiny or fate had played a hand at it.
Yeah, it's
If
true.
you believe in those kind of things.
I do. And
Yeah.
I definitely think it's when it's when you expected the least, it's the most surprising person that stands by you or you get to spend the rest of your life with. So it's nice to see that we have a case study to present for that. So how did you guys decide to get married? What was a conversation that led you to think, okay, let's get married? And how did you proceed to tell your respective families about it?
So he knew from the minute he met me that I was the one he wanted
In
to
terms of
get
the
married
first time.
to the first time. The first time we went on a date, he
Uh-huh.
knew that he wanted to get married to me. For me, it definitely took me some time
Mm-hmm.
because I was loving my freedom as a
Yeah.
single girl. So what made me realize he's the one for me is he's such a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's fun, he's nice, he's very easygoing, very chill. And in my heart, I felt that he's the one for me. I just had a feeling that he's the one I will not get tired of loving even after marriage.
That sounds so romantic. One that we should all strive to get.
Yeah, look at me blushing.
Yeah.
Thinking all these things. I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast.
I hope he does.
He's going to go away.
I hope
Yeah.
he does.
With marriage, from most couples I've met, it's just this feeling you get once you just know that this is the person I want to get married to. It's a feeling you can't describe.
Mhm.
But when you meet someone, you'll just know that this is my soulmate or this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. In that moment, you'll just feel it.
You know, this reminds me of all those times that I've asked somebody or you see in movies like, explain how do you know? And the
Yeah.
person's like, you just know.
Exactly. You just know.
You
You
just
just
know.
have this different feeling that you never had with other guys.
Mhm.
And the most important thing is you feel secure, you feel safe
Mhm.
with that person. And that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing maybe in these Indian movies, they can't explain it, like how the hero and heroine fall in love, but it's just something you can't describe.
So did he propose or did you?
No,
Was there
he did.
just a mutual discussion?
No, he did. He did.
He did?
He proposed. Yeah.
Were you shocked when
Oh,
it happened? Do you want to tell us about it or is that a best kept secret?
it just happened randomly. Like there was nothing special about it. He just said to me that I want to marry you just one day when we went out for coffee.
Oh.
He's like, you're the girl I want to spend the rest of my life with. That was the proposal. There was no roses, there was no that special arrangement, nothing.
No, but that's special in its own way as well. Like he was
Yeah.
doing the most ordinary thing with you and he decided that I want to do the most ordinary things with this extraordinary person for the rest of my life. So it's romantic in its own way.
Yeah. He really goes over and beyond for me.
Mhm.
Definitely, everyone says that he loves me more, which I would agree. Like, he's really sweet and he really goes out of his way for me.
I want to have like a digression here for a second because you
Yeah.
mentioned this loves me more thing. My mom tells me that you need to find somebody who's in love with you more than you are in love with them.
Definitely. I think, and I don't know whether people judge me for this, but this is my experience from the
Mhm.
people around me that you should marry a person who loves you more than you love them.
Mhm.
So, in this case, like for a woman, if the man loves you more, that means he's in it.
Yes,
Most of the times, if it's the opposite way, the lady always gets
it's hurt.
misused, like she'll just be played around like a toy.
I
You should
agree.
definitely find a guy who loves you more than you love,
Mhm.
because then you know it's a real genuine connection.
Yes.
In today's age of dating and romance and Tinders,
I don't think we can count Tinder as romance or dating.
hey, people have found love matches on this side.
I guess those are the rare ones then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I digress for there. But let's go back to what happened. How did you tell your family that this is the guy that I want to marry? Did they always know? Were they surprised?
So I did tell them that I am dating
Mm-hmm.
and that it's not like of course they did ask me that, is it serious, do you see a future in it? And I definitely had a talk first with my dad because I'm open with my father, so I
Mm-hmm.
had a talk with him about it, and he was very like encouraging. He's like, go for it, see where it takes you. At the age when I met my husband, I think I was around 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
almost turning 29. That's when I met him. And in Indian culture, that is too old to get married,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So he told me to take my time to get to know whether this is the man for me or not, because there is no point of rushing into it.
Yes.
And and a few years later, you're no longer together. And because of his wise words and his encouragement, and I got to know him over the period of the 3 years, and
Mhm.
then I decided to marry. I definitely introduced him to my family after a few months, like
Mhm.
let me 7, 8 months. I introduced him to my family to get to know what they think of him. My sisters to see what they thought of him, because family for me, family and their opinion matters a lot to me, and they loved him. I
Mhm.
think they love him more than me. I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, that's very hurtful, but yes.
Well, now you have to do stuff to get them back on your side.
Yeah, I have to. But
Definitely have to. You
yeah,
need them on your side in an argument, Playing tug of war, they better be tugging on your side.
yeah, I have to. So after we married, we've been going out for dinners with my family, events, whatnot. And later onwards, my parents told me that it's now time to like settle down.
Uh-huh.
So I talked to him and he talked to his parents about it. And I talked to my parents. He introduced me to his parents. We started getting to know each other's families. And
Mhm.
it just happened so seamlessly and so fast.
Mhm.
When they say that it hit you like a truck,
Yeah.
that's how mad it was for me. Like, I couldn't believe that I'm already married. It happened so fast, but it's not something I regret. I'm happy that I'm married and I'm on to another stage of life.
That's a really good way to look at it, that despite the fact that it went by so fast and so quickly, it's not something that's made you regret your decisions or made you regret the journey that you've been on. I think that's really good. That means that you're happy and you've made a good decision.
Definitely, definitely. I'm happy that I give him another chance.
Yes.
Or let me not say I myself, we give both,
We gave each other.
we give each other a chance. And it's been going well so far.
Touch wood.
And I also would like to say that perhaps I'm in this stage of marriage where I'm happy and I'm not frustrated. And, I've accepted the next phase of life, which everyone says is marriage.
Hmm.
It's because even in my single life, I was given a lot of freedom to do what I want. So I don't regret. Some
Yes.
people, their freedom is cut, like mainly girls, their freedom is cut. They're not allowed to do a lot of things like travel, go out, have fun with friends, and,
Yeah.
explore yourself, who you are, what you like. But my parents never restricted me. I've traveled a lot. They've let me take part in a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
Just let me be myself. And I think that's really helped me.
Yeah, I think even when you went to your dad to speak to him about that you've met someone and he said, even though, and I put this in quotes and please take this very lightly when I say this, that you were too
Yeah.
old or had passed the age of marriage, even
Yeah.
despite that, he told you to take your time and get to know somebody is probably one of the most amazing and I have so much more respect for your dad right now. Not that I didn't have before, but
Yeah. Thank you so much.
that's wow. If I could do a standing ovation,
But I would advise everyone to like first get to know yourself, explore yourself before you get into a relationship. So you know what you're bringing to the table. You know who you are, what you
yes,
want. Are you compatible? Do you have the same mindset of things? That really helps in relationships.
I agree.
Most of us are scared of exploring ourselves. We've not been taught like it's okay to be who you are.
Mhm.
You don't have to be perfect or like the movie stars or influencers. You just have to be yourself. You have to know what you want. If you're an introvert, it's okay. If you're an
Yes.
extrovert, it's fine. You don't have to be an extrovert doesn't have to be an introvert and vice versa. You
Mhm.
just have to be happy with yourself and feel safe and know your self worth as well.
You're very wise. Speaking of, Sid actually brought up something in our last conversation where she said a lot of times you have to have the conversation of, do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Like, what is the financial situation? How is all of that going to go? a lot of times people don't really have that conversation before they get married. Was that a conversation that you had with your husband before? Like, did you speak to any of those serious topics, finances, children, older life, any of the sorts? Did you have that conversation?
Yes, we definitely had it before. I don't know what we said 3 years ago. It's a long time. I can't remember. But one thing I know definitely is once you get married, all that changes.
Yes.
Before marriage, you live in a dream bubble.
Uh-huh.
But once you get married and you get to know what the situation is
Mhm.
and how you have to adjust so much and how your responsibilities increase, you have to be realistic about your finances and all these small things that come up in your marriage, how to handle them. For kids, definitely, I think that was the most important question before marriage.
Okay.
But do you want kids or no kids? And we both want kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's important to discuss before you get married because you don't want to get into a marriage and you've not discussed this and it comes up too late.
Yes, and I think this is a very important topic to discuss, specifically like procreation in its
Yes.
entirety, like all of it,
Yeah.
because women are just expected to want kids. It's like nobody, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but nobody really asks, do you want kids? They're just like, how many kids do you want? Have you ever noticed that?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And especially after marriage, once you get married, that 1 year of honeymoon, once it's gone, everybody is on your case. Have kids, have kids, have kids. you know Nobody wants to give you that time to spend enjoying your marriage, trying to adjust into your new life. Everybody is no, now on to the next phase. When are you getting your first child? Once you get your first child, when's your second? Are you planning to get other kids as well? That's how society is.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
questions never stop, but
No.
that should not influence you into what you want to do.
I,
Both you and your husband, it shouldn't influence.
okay. So the next obvious step would be the day of your wedding. Can you take me through your thoughts on the day of the wedding? Like you're sitting there on the mandap. What are your thoughts? What is going through your mind? How are you feeling?
Well, first I was anxious because I was around so many people. I had anxiety
Uh-huh.
because I'm also claustrophobic and there were so many people. But it was really nice to see everyone come and support you on that day and everything went smoothly. And it was nice knowing that the person sitting next to you, you're going to be with him forever. It
Yes.
was even a different change for me as well in terms of family. I knew I would not be with them again. I would not be going back to my dad's house to stay with my mom, my sisters, my sibling, my father. So it was bittersweet for me as
Yes.
well. Yeah.
So it's like,
You're gaining a partner, you're gaining a new family, but you're also losing out a bit on your other family when you get married.
okay, this isn't a question about all this stuff, but it is a question I think is an interesting conversation. Just saying, like, look at the different perspectives. You guys are both getting married, but he, on the other hand, is going to go home with you and is going to have an additional family, whereas you are leaving your family and going with him, and
Yeah.
he. And I wouldn't say losing it, but that part of your life is now, a closed book, and you're opening either a new chapter or a new book, and you're never going to go back there again in the same sense. So does it feel like things should be different, that it shouldn't be that way, or do you think that this makes sense?
Okay. Let's see whether I got it right or not.
Okay.
So definitely once a woman gets married, especially in the Indian culture, most of us stay with the in-laws,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your lifestyle is going to change completely. It will be a overnight overhaul, completely change of your life. You know, everything that you knew, everything that you're used to, everything changes the
Mm-hmm.
minute you get married. You have to live in a house, apart from your husband, the rest are still strangers to you because you don't know yet. You're still forming relationships with them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get used to their house behaviors. You have to get used to their routine. You know, it was a big change for me.
Mm-hmm.
But you, as a woman, if you're flexible about and ready to let go of some things, then it makes life much easier for you. Like my husband complains that he had a huge bed for himself, but now he has to share that bed with me and he only gets a quarter of it. That was a big change for him.
That was the big change for him.
He had to sleep now on just photo. Yeah. So a lot of things change for the woman. You also, when you're under your parents, you have that protective umbrella.
Hmm.
But once you get married, you realize that most of the things you have to do for yourself. You do not have that protective umbrella. Your mom and dad won't come and save you. You have to save yourself. You have to start being an adult about a lot of things.
Mhm.
And if you have supportive in laws who accept you as you are, you're really blessed.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I would think I'm one of them. My in-laws have been very chill and they've given me a lot of freedom. Not much of my life before marriage has changed.
Mhm.
I still do what I used to do. And they've been very supportive and very understanding and they've given me time to adjust as well.
Mhm.
Many people don't realize that, especially the woman doesn't realize that when you come into the house of your husbands, if you're staying with your in-laws, they also have to adjust to you. You're also a new stranger to them.
Mhm.
It's
That's
a
very
new
well said.
relationship for them. Yeah, it's a new relationship for them. So you also have to give them space to get used to you and your behavior, to learn who you are as a person, your personality, what you like, what you don't like. And I think that's where many of us go wrong. We think about ourselves, which is not wrong, but sometimes we forget the other party.
That's such a refreshing and incredible insight. I have not heard anyone speak about how that the in-laws also have to adjust, and I think that speaks profoundly about you as a person, but also how the thinking that you just went through is like, yeah, I had to adjust and figure out my life and how it fits into this family, but they also had to do the same with me. I think, wow.
You think a lot of, about a lot of things, you know. And if you have, like, my husband and I, we are very open and we are very open about everything, be it nasty or be it bad or be it something that it will hurt you. But
Mhm.
we have a very open communication about things. And I think that communication really helps us understand each other, what the other party is thinking, what I am thinking, what I find wrong or right, and what they find wrong or it really helps to understand. The main thing is communication. There's that barrier.
Yes.
And if you don't break that barrier, if you do not communicate that, look, I don't like this, or I don't want to eat this, or this is what I do. I wake up at 7, I do ABCD. If you don't explain yourself, you don't communicate your needs, your wants, what you like, what you don't like, no one is going to figure you out.
Yes.
You know, no one is a mind reader. You have to explain to them. And you also have to be willing to, you know, open up, get to
Mhm.
know them. It's basically a generation breakdown, you know. You have to understand they're from a different generation. Their thinking is based on that generation. And
Right.
in this generation, we are more open minded and let go of more things, you know. Like nowadays, marriage, they say, is an institution and it's not a must. You go through with it. You can
Mhm.
even do a living, you know, or just date or be single. And that's totally fine, you know. You
Yes.
have to be open minded about a lot of things.
So I want to go back to the day of your wedding because I really want to know how you went through the day. How did you? So you were feeling anxious, but you were also, it was like a whole bittersweet moment for you. What happened when you said, your vidai and you sat in that? So I've been to a lot of Indian weddings and I've always wondered what conversations and what goes on once the bride and the groom, get into the car and go to wherever they're going, like ride off into the sunset. Obviously, you're not actually doing that, but
Yeah.
tell me to your best recollection, like what was a conversation you had? You were obviously upset and happy and scared. You're just a bundle of all these mixed emotions. Just, just take it from there.
Sure. Once I said bye to everyone and I sat in the car. So it was my now husband, his brother, and a friend. They were in the same car and they checked up on me because they saw me crying. They asked, "Are you okay?" Um, they made a few jokes here and there, you know, just to cheer me up and all. And that's how it went. I do not remember the conversations, but once I entered the car, I felt very different. I felt very strange because I felt I'm coming to, you know, my life has changed.
Yeah.
Of that point when I entered the car, my life changed. Like I had to like leave everything I knew about for the past 30 years and start afresh,
Yeah.
you know, and get to know everyone, change my lifestyle and everything. It's been hard, no doubt, And so once we reached home, everyone was there. My sister-in-law, she was very helpful and very understanding, and she took care of me, which was really sweet knowing that his family accepted me. That's
Mhm.
a very big thing in Indian culture.
Yes.
As long as you know that the boy's family accepts you, you know you'll be okay.
Mhm.
You know, it will be easier for you to settle down. So she was a really big help in helping me settle down, getting to understand all the family relations because his uncles and aunties flew down just like 2, 3 days before the wedding. So I didn't get to meet all of them. So all that happened. Introductions to the new family. They asked me whether I want to eat and what I need and if I
Mhm.
need my space. That's basically what happened. And then after that, we just went to the tribe hotel. And I think we just slept. We were too tired. So basically, that's how my day went
Mhm.
from the time I sat in the car.
I've never, well, I wouldn't, I feel like I've never had any life changing moments as drastic as you. But now that I think back on it, I'm remembering times where I was like, oh, my life's never going to be the same now. And I've had it quite a few times. But
Yeah.
I've never been away from, or I've never had the sense that the umbrella that I've been under, as you put it, has been taken away from me. And
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to imagine myself in your shoes. And I honestly, I find myself short of imagining how I would feel at that moment. And it just makes me feel like I don't think I want to do that. I want to go back under the umbrella and just stay there for the rest of my life.
Exactly. Like I would like trust me, Jill, that's the moment you know, oh my God, shit, I'm an adult man. Till that moment you don't realize it because you're
Yeah.
staying with your parents.
Hmm.
But the minute that protective umbrella goes, you're like shit, now I'm an adult. I have to do everything for myself. And obviously they have their parents, and yet they're not changing anything about their lifestyle. But we have to.
Yeah.
But as I say, as long as you have a supportive family and friends, you will be okay. But you have to make an effort as well
Hmm.
because you're an alien to them. You have to make an effort. Without effort, it won't work.
Yes. It has to be both sides.
Yes.
So, once you got married, is there anything about your career and personal goals that changed?
Yeah, it changed. So for my career and my personal goals changed drastically because now I also had more responsibilities in the house. Before, you're with your mother, she would take care of you and everything, but now you have to also help around in the house. You're
Mhm.
the second adult as well, you know, and also my in-laws are old as well. So I also have to like take care of them. As
Yes.
now they're my new parents.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to take care of them. And so my career took a setback a
Hmm.
little bit, but not so much. My in-laws have been very supportive of me finding a job and all that. I do consultancy work
Hmm.
and they're okay with me working on that, being a consultant and all. So for personal development, I feel that there's been no sacrifice on my part for personal development. I feel like I've actually grown because once you get married, you're also introduced to a new social circle. You
Hmm.
get to discover new things, you get to meet new people, and all that helps you in your personal development. So I feel there was no setback in terms of personal development. I still, like I mentioned to you, that I still have, luckily for me, even after marriage, I still have the freedom to do what I want.
Yes.
So I can still work on my personal goals. There's been no sacrifice from on my end. But I believe once you do have kids, everything takes a setback.
Yeah. Kids are generally, but
Yes.
that's a setback of your choosing, though. Also, you see, that's like a very like a topic that you're walking on eggshells because
Yeah.
it's like even though you want those kids and it shouldn't be a setback,
No, I believe that some personal development goals will take a setback
Mm.
because you have to sacrifice some time for your husband, for your kids, you know, and that will come from your personal development time. Like if I had 6 hours, now I'll have to cut it short and divide it for my children as well, because I have to make them grow in terms of personal development as well. So in marriage, if your husband is supportive of you and the changes in your life are not drastic, I think you can still go on with your personal goals. You might take 1 year, 1.5, maybe if you had a setback. But I believe that every woman should have her own goals as well, not
Mhm.
depend on her husband for everything. You should have goals of your own.
I think that's a really important thing to remember is that irrespective of whether you're married or not, you should always be able to stand on your 2 feet. If you're in a bad
Exactly.
marriage, if something terrible has happened, you should be able to not sacrifice who you are as a person and go through all of this heartache and tough times when you can just say, you know what? No, I can stand on my 2 feet. So that's what I'm going to do. You can go, shove it.
Yes, exactly. A woman should not depend entirely on her husband.
Yes.
You have to grow yourself. You have to develop yourself. We human beings have to grow
Mhm.
organically and naturally. So you cannot rely on your husband for everything. You still have to be independent.
Yeah, agreed. Completely 100%. I do have a question though. So, the living situation after your marriage, was there a discussion on whether you'd be living with your in laws or would you be living separately? Or was it just like a given that just because, your husband has older parents that you would just generally move in with them? How did you also feel about the idea of living with your in-laws? Did you think that whenever you got married you would be separate or were you prepared to live with in-laws?
So before we got married, we were advised by many people
Mhm.
that we should live separately. It gives your marriage a chance to grow. You
Mhm.
have your freedom and you have your space to grow
Yes.
as a couple.
Mhm.
We got that advice. But as I mentioned, my in laws are old and they need to be taken care of.
Mhm.
So my husband did explain to me that situation. And I was very open about it. I was okay with that because I had already met them. I knew their personalities. They're very good people, not too critical and all. So I was okay to live with them. But I know majority of people, they find it very hard to live with them. It's very hard. Most of the people around me, they find it quite hard to live with them.
Mhm.
But I might be one of the rare cases and few cases you must have heard of that is okay to stay with the in-laws.
Yes.
I feel they were a very huge support system for me and my husband in the first 2 years. They were very supportive, very wise. Their advice, and their support, I think, has really helped us to stay together through the fights, through the chaos, and everything that comes with marriage.
You're bringing in a lot of fresh perspective into this because in the States, a lot of Indian couples, particularly first generation Americans, and even some that have immigrated from India, generally don't live with in laws. As soon as they get married, they move into their new house. Just in my family, my cousin, as soon as he got married, they didn't go to a hotel, they didn't go to his house, they went to the house him and his wife bought together. So that's where they spent
Wow.
the
Okay.
first night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it is generally.
Yeah.
Like I'd say 90% of people would prefer to stay on their own.
Mhm.
If I also had the option to stay with my husband alone, I would be okay with it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm against it, but even I would be up for it. But
Mhm.
neither did it, bug me that I had to stay with them. I was also open for that idea. Everyone is different. And
Yes.
95% of people would like their privacy and their own space, to grow
Mhm.
and to be able to express themselves and all.
Yes, agreed. But this is, I guess this is another reason why you and your husband were the puzzle pieces that just fit together perfectly. Because if it was any other person in your situation, they probably, especially in this day and age with just the way things are,
Yeah.
probably would not be okay with having the living situation that you do. So I guess this is another reason that you guys just fit together perfectly, isn't it?
Oh, thanks. I told you
Yes,
destiny.
destiny. You did say that. So, what are the biggest challenges that you faced as a married woman, and how did you overcome them?
So the biggest challenge I had was trying to trying to please everyone, not being able to take in criticism in a good positive manner. Also trying to balance everything.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of things that come like balancing your family, your new family, your husband, your friends, your social circle, your workmates. All that is a bit intense in the starting because you do not want to make anyone feel left out or, oh, Jenica got married, so now she's forgotten me, or she's too busy in her marriage to even bother with me, and I was there for her before her marriage. You do not want such comments.
Did you get those comments, or did you just
No,
prepare
I did
yourself?
not. No, I did not. I did not. I think my biggest worry was cooking good food because I sucked at cooking. I hated cooking, so that was my biggest worry, honestly
And
speaking.
what about now?
Now I think I can say I'm decent. I can make rotis round, so I think I'm good. I make round rotis, so I'm
The
really
standard is if you can make round
good.
rotis, you're good at cooking.
I can't say good, but I can make decent food, which, yes, it took me quite a while to get there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that was one of them for me, cooking, because I invested most of my life before I got married into my career,
Uh-huh.
having more fun. Cooking was not a necessity for me to learn, but after marriage, I realized it has to be, because someone is depending on you.
Mhm.
And the sweet thing is, even my husband, he supports me, and he also joins in the cooking. And he's very open minded. He does not think that a woman's place is in the kitchen.
Yes.
That's not his thought. So he's very helpful. He feels it's everyone's responsibility. Like cooking is a essential skill that
I
everyone needs
completely
to
agree.
learn.
Not just
Yeah,
cooking, but like cooking, cleaning, these are basic skills, not even skills, these are basic needs that you need to have as an
exactly.
individual, not just as a
Yeah,
female or a male, but like as an individual. Because if something happens and you live by yourself, you need to be able to feed yourself because if you don't, you die. And if you don't
that's true.
clean the environment that you're in, you're going to be living in a dump that's going to get diseased and you're going to die. So
Yeah, exactly.
to avoid death, learn how to cook and learn how to
Yeah.
clean.
The other thing that I also found very hard was, like I told you, I was in a protective bubble
Yes.
when I was living with my parents. Like, I didn't take any of the responsibilities, like paying bills, the responsibilities your parents took. Now I had to take them. So, that paying bills, like, yes, my husband would pay the bill, but, keeping the house in order, my mother used to do that. Now I have to do that for my house. So, that was a big change for me as well, making sure the veggies in the house, there's drinking water, the house is clean, the clothes are ironed. All those are important things.
Mhm.
We normally tend to neglect the role of housewives, but I think plays a very big role because everybody wants to come home to a warm cooked meal and eat in a clean house.
Yes, completely agree. So I noticed you said my house. How long did it take you to differentiate, or when did you start to realize that the house that you are now with your husband and your in laws is your house, as opposed to the house that you were with your dad and your sisters? Because when you go to somebody else's house,
Yes.
it takes a while for it to feel like home, especially when it's
Yeah.
not been yours to begin with. You're just moving in. So when did that realization come to you, or do you still feel as though this isn't completely your home, or
For the reason I felt like this is my house, it took me almost 1.5 years.
uh-huh.
However, like I said, my in-laws really were supportive and they used to involve me in the decision making of the house. What should we do? Or should we do this? What's your opinion? They used to involve me in the decisions, and them involving me in the decisions really made me feel like,
This is your
okay,
own?
I am a
Yeah.
part of this, or this is my house, and their input on what I think. I mean, my input is important to them.
It's valuable.
Yeah, and they always remind me that this is your house. We also value your input. If I have a suggestion, they're willing to try it out. They're willing to listen. So it played a big part in helping me be able to recognize that this is my house. I can do what I want and also have the freedom to do what I want. So the biggest challenge I had was being judged by outsiders
Mhm.
because in their mind, they wanted a proper housewife. I was not that. I was a career woman. And
Mhm.
into changing into a housewife and all, I used to be judged on my cooking skills. I used to take care of the house, what I believe in, like the God I believe in and all that. It was a really challenging time for me to
Mhm.
stay true to my roots, to
Mhm.
be who I am without being influenced by others.
Yeah.
It really got me down. Like, constant criticism and constant judgment from people who don't live with you, but who feel that they have a say in your life. It really got to me because inside the house, no one knew how much I was working hard to change my life, to be able to adjust, to try also to be a housewife to
Mhm.
my husband now that I'm married, as well as be a career woman. That was the biggest challenge for me.
Mhm.
But now, after 5 years of marriage, I don't care anymore. I just do me. I just do what's right. I give it my best.
Mhm.
And if someone wants to judge me, that's upon them.
And do those judgments and those comments still come along the way?
No, I think, once you a new bride, everyone looks at a new bride like a sparkly thing,
Mhm.
right? So they look at the bride as a shiny object and they want her to be perfect in
Yeah.
everything, in taking care of the house, the in-laws, the husband, cooking, everything. They want you to be perfect in it. But once they realize you are not, that's where the criticism comes, the judgment comes, about how you dress, who you believe in, what you do, how you spend your day, who you
Wait,
interact with.
they have comments on how you dress as well?
Yes, they do.
Do they expect you to be in a sari all the time? Is that what their expectation is?
Well, one of them was to be dressing more Indian, to be more feminine, to put makeup, to always look good, to do, all those kind of remarks.
Mm.
Yeah. But I believe that as a woman, you should stay true to yourself, be who you are. Do not become a personality based on what other people have said about you. Stick to your true self.
I think so. There's a lot of times where the noise from the outside world gets really hard to differentiate between your own voice. And when that pressure, when those comments are so loud, it's hard not to let it affect you. It's hard not to let it, drive your decision making or shut yourself down. Because, and I speak for myself when I say this, is a lot of times I found myself really drowning in that noise and finding it hard to be myself with a certain group of family members because I feel that they have a lot to say about the way that I live my life or the decisions that I make or the choices that I have or beliefs that I have. And sometimes when you speak your mind, you are who you are, their judgment, their words really sting. They really make you feel small. They really make you feel unvalued and like you're doing something wrong. Like there's something wrong with who you are and the way that you are. And I find it really hard to get myself away from that. How do you manage to do that? Have you always just been that strong of a person, or is that something that you just had to build yourself up to?
I had to build that resilience and the self-worth. It took me quite some time. There were so many days I would cry, I would be down about a comment someone made indirectly. And, sometimes the older generation do not have a filter. Like they just say it as is, and it can be really hurtful. They might think they're doing you a favor by saying it, but sometimes it really hurts. So it's taken me quite some time to build that inner strength and be who I am,
Mhm.
but definitely it took quite a long time. I can say meditation helped me.
Meditation?
Yeah, it really did because you're someone who built yourself over a span of 30 years. You built yourself, your personality, your hobbies, your likes, your dislikes. And all of a sudden, once you get married, the woman is expected to change all that.
Yeah.
She's supposed to become a robot and do as she's being told. And I do not believe in that.
That brings me into a really perfect segue into the next question that I have for you. Do you have any advice for someone who is planning on getting married? Just based off of the experience that you've had and all the things that you've learned and the person that you've grown and become, do you have any advice for somebody who's planning on getting married or any advice for somebody who's in their mid 20s bombarded with their family about, oh, you need to get married now, it's your age to get married? Any advice for the rest of us?
So do not let pressure get to you. They will all tell you, time is out, you will end up, if you don't get married soon, you'll marry divorcees and,
Yeah.
you know,
I hear that so many times.
yeah, and widowers and all that. Do not believe all that. That's good. You do you. Your
Mhm.
20s is meant to live like fully,
Mhm.
and explore your freedom and get to know yourself better. And I would advise people in their 20s to do that because you're also in your 20s, we are all a bit immature,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to make use of that. You need to make mistakes as many as you can, get to know the world, explore different places, different people, travel. I would say travel,
Mhm.
because it really opens up your mind. And once you've done all that and you feel that now you're ready to settle down, yes, you're ready to move on to the next phase of life, like settle down, have a wife, have kids, cut back on the fun, and, be a bit more serious, then get married. You're never too old to get married. You can even get married in your 40s. Never get married if you are not ready, because that will be the biggest mistake you make for yourself. And you'll also be doing injustice
To the
to
other.
the person you're going to marry.
Yeah.
Marry when you're ready, when your heart feels right. And if you do get into marriage, communication is the key. Talk about everything. No topic should be uncomfortable for you to talk about. You should talk about everything. Like,
Now I want to go into the little cute stuff. What's the most surprising thing that you learned about your husband after you got married that you didn't know about him before?
let's think that he's one of the wisest guys I've ever met. Every argument or every situation he's gotten in, one thing that has surprised me about him is that he is so calm that he's able to think through a really bad situation in a logical manner. Most of us, our brains shut off when we think of a situation emotionally, but he's able to maintain that calm and think about things logically. And that is the biggest thing that has ever surprised me about him. That how can a human being just be even logical when he's angry,
Yes, that's a really good quality. One that we should all strive to have.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I learned about him after marriage.
And how has your marriage evolved from when you were dating and then when you got married and then to now? How has it changed? How has it evolved?
I think we both become mature in terms of our arguments, decisions, the way we just handle our responsibilities. I feel when we got married, we were kids, we are youngsters. We're just exploring what marriage is. We didn't understand responsibility. But as the years went by, that's the 5 years, I feel we've reached at a position where I feel I understand him, he understands me. We are much calmer in terms of our arguments. No one is giving each other the cold shoulder or banging doors. So I feel we've matured in marriage.
Banging doors. Can we go back
Yeah.
to that? Why was that an
Yeah.
example?
Yeah, like I said, some of us are emotional. I'm not going to mention who. So you just bring it out to make your point. And I think we become more understanding of each other's letdown. Like if he lets me down when I wanted him to do something for him, you understand, like you get to know, like, why did he let you down? You ask those questions, but before you just get mad and angry and not talk to each other for days, like, no, you should have done this for me and you didn't do it. But now I believe that we ask each other more questions. And I believe that's the key to marriage, communication. And I keep saying communication, communication. That's the major stone of a relationship.
I think communication is a really big factor in just all sorts of relationships, like relationship with your parents, with your friends, with your partner. Everyone needs to have that communication. Like you said in the beginning, no one is a mind reader. If you don't communicate how you feel and what's going on in your mind, the other person's not going to know. So when you have that
Exactly.
communication, you have that connection, you have that understanding, it just
Yeah.
makes life so much more easier. Like we've seen so many movies that if the person had just expressed how they felt, all
Exactly.
the stuff that came after would have been prevented.
I agree with you on that. Yeah. One thing about our marriage is we both grown as people, and also our personalities have changed a bit. When you get married, you might have read about this somewhere that you tend to pick up the character traits of your spouse.
That was actually my next question.
Yeah. So you tend to pick up the traits and you get to learn quite a bit from the environment you are in. And I feel that's also changed in our years of marriage.
What are the traits that you've picked up from him?
So I actually picked this up from my mother-in-law. She believes that when you have an argument, you sort it then you fight it out, you sort it out. But once you're done with that argument, the next day you forget about it. You don't talk about it, you don't bring it up, you don't show a cold shoulder, you move on like everything's normal. Because the moment is gone, do not bring it back into a new day. That was very difficult for me because I would hold grudges. I would be still pissed about the thing for one whole week. Like I wouldn't be able to do that. But over time, I learned how to like just get my point across, argue, fight, whatever I have to do. And the next day I would be fine. That's one thing I learned from her.
That's
Like
growth
you just
right
have to
there.
you just have to let things go sometimes. The fight is not worth it. Rather treasure the relationships. And from my husband, I learned that not all your friends are your best friends. everyone's life, you have different types of best friends. Yeah. You have friends who you just party with. You have
Yes.
acquaintances, you have work friends, and then you have your close circle. But not everyone is a close person, close friend. You have to learn how to differentiate. So when in the moment of crisis, you will not be disappointed that this person was not there for me or expected her to be there and she was not there. You have, once you differentiate that, you'll be at peace and you'll know who to call when you have a crisis.
Agreed. Do you know any of the traits, or do you see any of the traits that you had that he's picked up, or anyone in like your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, any of them have picked up?
So they've picked up on my healthy eating habits.
That's good.
Yeah, they've definitely picked up on that. What has my husband picked up on from me? So when his mom fell sick,
Mhm.
he used to observe how I used to take care of her and how I used to go out on my way for her medicines, for doctor's appointments and that. And he replicated that same behavior for her because men generally are not taught how to be caring. You know, it's that nurturing nature is not in them.
Mhm.
But he used to see me do this for her. And that is one thing I can say he learned from
From
me
you.
perhaps. Yeah. How to be caring, how to go out of your way for someone who's in need, a bit of the nurturing nature.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think he can be a good dad if I'm not wrong.
Ah.
Fingers crossed.
So, for your final thoughts, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you feel that you should share? You have the floor. Any of final thoughts, any comments, questions?
Okay, so to the audience of Unfiltered, I would just like you to know that the conversation today with Jill is based on my personal experience. I know everyone's is different. I cannot speak for everyone, and everyone's marriage is different from everyone. You do not have to model someone's marriage into yours. You just have to go with the flow of as is. So please do not bash me. based on my
Nobody's going to
experience.
bash you.
Yes.
I have a very
Yeah.
loving following.
Yeah, so it's based on my experience. Who knows, maybe 5 years down the lane when she interview me again, I might say something different. But this has been my experience from the time I met my husband to now. So
Yes.
that's like 8 years.
It's not a one size fits all. It's
I'm not saying everything is rosy. We have had our fights, our arguments, days that I wanted to walk out of the door. But you have marriage is about commitment. That's one thing you need to know. You're in it forever.
Yeah.
So if you're ready for that, then it
actually,
will.
Jenica, you're in it for 7 lifetimes. Please, let's.
Yes. I always joke with my husband that in the next lifetime, I want you to come with the face of Tom Hardy and the booty of Henry Fonda.
Oh, wow. You just built the perfect specimen right there.
Yeah, and marriage is about having fun. You don't always take it seriously. You know, some things you have to let go of the small things. If the socks on the floor, just let go. Just let it be there. You have to let go of those things. Don't let it ruin your perfect day. You have to be chill and fun about it. The most important thing about life is you have to have fun in your marriage with your partner. No need to get married for 7 lifetimes and be stressed and sad and revengeful.
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
Yes. So I feel like there was a secret message in there to Jenica's husband. Please pick up your socks from the floor.
I'll remind him of that. I would also like to say thank you, Jill, for inviting me to your podcast Unfiltered. I had a really good chat with you.
I had a really good chat with you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. Thank you, Jenica. All right. Now that we know the Shaadi side effect, you can decide whether you want to have that effect on you or not.